Hey everybody! Today our objective is to be able to graph and write equations of lines. By the end of our lesson and our practice, you should be able to answer this question: how do we graph and write equations of lines? So put the date on your notes. Today is September 12th, unless you're watching it on another day. And the first page in our unit was about special angle pairs in a group of lines. And then we decided, hey, if they are parallel, there's these certain characteristics based on these special angle pairs. So today's goal is to be able to graph and write equations of these lines, and then we'll work on the angles. So title the next two pages, Linear Equations. Pause the video if you need to. And then I think I have some handouts. If you don't have a handout, that's okay. Just you can write it in your notebook. But let's talk really quick about slope trend. If I ask you what the slope is, it's either positive, negative, zero, or undefined. So a positive slope goes up in the top right, a negative slope goes down. The way I remember the difference between these two is I think of the capital letter N in negative, and that slope trend kind of follows. The slant in the N will follow it. Like that. It'll follow it. And then zero and undefined, they also get confused. The way I remember it is if I write the capital letter Z in zero, it follows the zero line. Okay. If you do not want to know just the slope trend, maybe you want to know the actual numerical value of the slope. And that is, if it's on a graph, you would use rise over run. And if it's not on a graph, you just have the points, I would use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is the rate of change in y's divided by the change in x's. So let's walk through a problem really quick. What is the slope of a line that passes through negative 4, comma, negative 3, and 2, negative 1? When I do a problem like this, I like to label my variables x1, y1, x2, y2. So that when I plug it in the formula, it just makes it that much easier. My y2 value is negative 1, and my y1 value is negative 3. Make sure when you're plugging stuff in that you keep an eye out for this negative sign right here and these negatives right here, because sometimes you'll have two negatives next to each other, sometimes you won't. So I have negative 1 minus negative 3. That means negative 1 plus 3, which is 2, over 2 minus negative 4 means 2 plus 4, which is 6. Always simplify your fractions if you can, and then that's going to be your slope. Once you find the slope, then you can actually write the equation of a line. And on Khan Academy, I want you to practice these two Khan Academies real quick. Slope from a graph using rise over run. Make yourself a little imaginary triangle, and then right triangle, and then count them. Rise is 2, run is 6, and then when you're done simplifying it, just double check the slope trend. Is it positive or is it negative? This one's positive. If you have points, make sure you use the slope formula. Again, practice labeling them before you plug them in. It'll make it go a lot smoother. Watch out for your negatives, and you'll be great. Okay. Now let's move on to equations of lines. There are three main forms of a linear equation: slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and standard form. Our favorite one is usually slope-intercept form, and that's y equals mx plus b. You can easily type that in the calculator. And then we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then standard form is ax plus by equals c. So why are these called these things? Well, slope-intercept form, it has the slope in there. M is the slope, remember? And then b is the y-intercept. That's why it's called that. Point-slope form also has a slope in there, but it also has a point in there. And then we'll go over standard form at the end of class. So find the piece of paper that says how to graph from slope-intercept form. Let's work through an equation, through an example. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. So step 1, identify your M and your B. Remember, in slope-intercept form, the M is touching the x value and the B is touching the y value. So right now, write down what you think the M is and what the B is. Hopefully you wrote down that the M is negative 2 and the B is 1. So if I want to graph it, that's all the information you really need. And you're going to start by plotting your y-intercept. In case you can't remember which one's the y-axis, I think of a capital letter Y and draw the stem down. So this one is the y-axis. I'm going to plot my y-intercept of 2. Sorry, my y-intercept of 1. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I plotted my y-intercept of 1. And then I need to actually have a line, so I need to draw a few more points. And I'm going to use rise over run for my slope. Remember, my slope was negative 2. To make anything into a fraction, you just put it over 1. So it means I'm going to rise a negative 2, meaning go down 2, and run 1. If you accidentally do 2 negatives and you run left, you'll catch yourself hopefully because you remember your slope should be negative. So I'm just going to plot a few points to make my line as straight as possible, and then I'd connect them with a straight edge or by hand. Now, what if I wanted you to go the other way and I wanted you to write an equation in slope-intercept form for my graph? Well, first of all, let's just use the exact same equation that we did. We already know this is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 1, but let's act like we didn't. Let me have you draw the sketch. And the first step is you want to identify your b, your y-intercept value. Again, that's on the y-axis, and I see that it crosses the y-axis at 1. And that's going to be really helpful because I'm halfway through my problem. I just plugged in my y-intercept of 1. Now, what can be a little tricky is finding your slope from a graph, but you already did 2 Khan Academies on this, so you're really fast at it. And you just need another good point. So when this would not be a good point because it's not on the crosshairs. This would be a good point, and that was in our example. So I'm going to try to figure out another one. This one is not a good point because it's not on the cross of the little grid cross area. And then here, this one is a good point. It's on the little grid cross area thing. So I'm just going to pick 2 points, and then I'm going to apply rise over run to it. How do I get from one point to the other? My rise is my up and down, so you can draw yourself a little imaginary right triangle. My rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, and my run is 2. So that's 4 over 2. Some of y'all probably caught that I went down, so you can definitely put the negative there. I usually don't put it until the end when I'm done simplifying it. And then I realize, hey, my line is negative, so my slope should be negative. So when I plug it in, I'm going to plug in negative 2x plus 1, not just negative 2. Or sorry, not just positive 2. Okay, I'm going to pause this video so you can catch up, and then there is a part 2.